Al-Kindi, a very important figure in Islamic philosophy, is known for his work on the intellect. He believed that the intellect is the most important thing that makes humans different from other beings. The intellect lets humans think, learn, understand, and make judgments. Al-Kindi didn't see the intellect just as a skill, but more like something real. He believed it was a concrete thing found within humans. When Al-Kindi explained Aristotle's ideas about the soul and intellect, he said that the power of perception actually represents the soul directly. He believed that what is perceived is the soul itself, and the image that's perceived is seen as a part of the soul. In this case, there's no difference between the one perceiving and what is being perceived. However, in the material world, there is a difference between the perceiver and the thing being perceived. According to Al-Kindi, the intellect is the most obvious characteristic of humans and what separates us from animals. It's through our intellect that we can understand the universe, create knowledge, and form moral values. Al-Kindi thought that the intellect is a divine gift. Through it, humans can know and become closer to God. He believed that the intellect allows humans to find happiness both in this world and the afterlife. It helps us separate right from wrong, choose good over bad, and ultimately achieve happiness. Al-Kindi categorized the intellect into different types, including potential intellect, active intellect, actual intellect, and acquired intellect. This division helps explain the different functions and stages of development of the intellect. Al-Kindi's work on the intellect has helped us better understand the concept of intellect in Islamic philosophy. His understanding of the intellect has been studied and further developed by philosophers who came after him. Al-Kindi's emphasis on the intellect significantly contributed to the advancement of science and philosophy in the Islamic world. When the soul uses the intellect, the form and the soul become one and the same. Knowledge of form that exists independently of matter and imagination represents knowledge acquired by the soul, meaning the higher intellect. In this process, knowledge obtained through the higher intellect emerges as the active intellect. Avicenna's concept of the intellect. Avicenna was a philosopher who deeply explored the concept of the intellect in Islamic philosophy and made important observations on this subject. Avicenna, who saw the intellect as the most important characteristic of humans, talks about different types of intellect. Here are the main headings of Avicenna's types of intellect. Potential intellect, el-aqlul kuva. This is the intellect that humans are born with, which is undeveloped and not yet filled with knowledge. This intellect is a potential and becomes active through education, experience, and thinking processes. It is the source of people's ability to learn and acquire knowledge. Active intellect, el-aqlul fa'il. It is a universal intellect and the source of all individual intellects. It plays an active role in shaping matter and organizing the universe. It gives knowledge to the human mind, guides thinking processes, and helps humans achieve perfection. Avicenna says that the active intellect is reflected in the human mind like a mirror, and through this reflection, humans can discover the secrets of the universe. Holy intellect, el-aqlul qudsi. This is a special type of intellect possessed by prophets who acquire knowledge through revelation. It is considered the highest level of potential intellect and is nourished by divine inspiration. It is the source of the prophet's ability to show people the right path and convey divine messages. According to Avicenna, the intellect is the most important characteristic that distinguishes humans from other beings. Thanks to the intellect, humans understand the universe, produce knowledge, create moral values, and question the meaning of their existence. Avicenna tried to explain the processes of human knowledge acquisition and spiritual development by examining the relationship between different types of intellect. According to Avicenna, the intellect is the most important human characteristic and the key to acquiring knowledge. Given the importance of the intellect, Avicenna also examined the different faculties of the intellect in detail. According to Avicenna, the main faculties of the intellect are perception, his. This is the process of receiving sensory information from the outside world and representing this information in the mind. Avicenna says that perception occurs through the five senses: imagination, This is the process of visualizing perceived information in the mind and combining it in different ways. Thanks to imagination, we can recall our past experiences and make predictions about the future. Estimation, VARM. This is a more advanced stage of the imagination. With estimation, we can generate new concepts and relationships from perceived information. Composition, Muthayyala. This is considered the highest level of imagination. With composition, we can form abstract concepts and general principles. Intellect. This is the highest level of mental activity that evaluates, analyzes, and synthesizes information produced by faculties such as perception, imagination, estimation, and composition. Thanks to the intellect, we can distinguish right from wrong and truth from falsehood. The relationship and functioning of these faculties, according to Avicenna, these faculties are closely related. Faculties such as perception, imagination, and estimation form the raw material of the intellect. The intellect processes this raw material to produce knowledge and reach correct conclusions. For example, when we see an apple, perception, an image of the apple appears in our mind, imagination. Then, by considering the common and different characteristics of the apple with other fruits, estimation, we form the concept of fruit, composition. Finally, by comparing this information with our other knowledge, we make a general judgment about the apple, intellect. Knowledge acquisition and the power of abstraction. The power of abstraction is found only in the human mind and has the ability to abstract the object of knowledge from its material ties. According to Avicenna, perception, sensation, imagination, estimation, and the human intellect, respectively, constitute the process of acquiring knowledge. After the concept is obtained, the processes of conception, judgment, and affirmation of the human soul follow. The relationship between the active intellect and the human intellect. Avicenna established a striking philosophical structure by examining the relationship between the active intellect and the human intellect. The active intellect, according to Avicenna, is a universal intellect and the source of all individual intellects. This intellect is a power that shapes matter, organizes the universe, and gives knowledge to the human mind. The active intellect is a constantly active, unchanging, and perfect being. The human intellect, on the other hand, is an intellect that is unique to the individual and develops through learning and experience. The human intellect has the potential to access all knowledge. However, for this potential to be realized, it needs to interact with the active intellect. According to Avicenna, the human intellect receives knowledge from the active intellect, and thanks to this knowledge it thinks, learns, and makes judgments. If the human intellect is likened to an empty jug, the active intellect is like a pitcher that fills this jug with knowledge. This relationship can be compared to a teacher-student relationship. The active intellect is a teacher who enlightens the human intellect and shows it the right path. Avicenna likens the relationship between the active intellect and the human intellect to the sun illuminating objects. The active intellect abstracts from material grounds, making them intelligible, and conveys them to our soul. This process results in the intelligible being perceived in an abstract way in the human soul. The importance of the relationship. All the knowledge that the human intellect possesses ultimately comes from the active intellect. The human intellect constantly develops and perfects itself, thanks to its relationship with the active intellect. Through the active intellect, humans discover the secrets of the universe and try to understand the meaning of existence.